If we have any comments that are in Spanish, we will be using their services to interpret those comments into English. So please bear with us. This is the first time. This is very exciting for all of us, but we may have a couple hiccups or speed bumps along the way, so thank you for your patience. And at this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Community Advisory Board, the City of Santa Rosa, to order and have roll call.
Right. Member Chaparro?
Yeah. Here.
All right. Member Cruz?
Present.
Member Devine?
Here.
Hi, Member Devine, can you please turn your camera on? There you are. Thank you. Member Foster?
Here.
Member Harper?
Here.
Member McGarry, are you with us this evening? Member Ocaña, are you here? I don't see her. Member Carabin, are you here? Member Carabin, nope. Member Roberts, are you here? Right. Co-Vice Chair Graves?
Present.
Co-Vice Chair Moore?
Present.
And Chair Barnett.
Present.
All right, I'll let the record show we have all members present except for members McGarry, Ocaña, Carabin, and Roberts. I'm sorry? Council Chambers, can you put yourself on mute?
Thank you. Yes, we're working on that.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Danielle. And we will go now to public comments.
Council chambers are on mute. Thank you.
And for our host, Madeline, do we have any public comments at this time?
Oh, my apologies. I am not seeing any hands raised for public comment.
Great. Thank you for that. And we will move now to the approval of the minutes, item number 3.
Oh, Co-Vice Chair Graves, hold on just a moment. I just want to ask a clarifying question of our Zoom host, Madeline. Is the voicemail that we received, is that part of this public comment or is it an agenda item?
It's an agenda item for 7.
Thank you.
Great. And with that, we will go to item number 3, the approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion?
I have a correction.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of August, can't remember the date. So the last August 26th regular meeting minutes.
Member Cruz, and we will move right along into the discussion. It looks like Member Harper, you have an item correction. And just so those that are joining us from the public that may not have been here at our last meeting, I do want to make note that our last meeting was cut short. So some of that meeting is a continuance tonight. I also see that Member Roberts has joined us when he turns on his screen. And Member Harper, you had a comment and a correction?
In the minutes, I'm noted as the vice chair. So just need to make me a ready.
Member Harper, you are so honest and on top of it. None of us noticed. We're so used to that notation.
All right.
We are on item number 3 right now, Member Roberts, and with the approval of the minutes, if there's any discussion, any items that you would like to bring forth. It looks like there's no further discussion. Is there any public comments for the meeting minutes?
There are no hands raised for meeting minutes.
Thank you. And do we have a second for the motion? With the correction, excuse me, but with the correction of that one notation that Member Harper brought forth. And I saw Member Foster raise your hand. Would you like to make that second?
Second, yes.
And that was Member Foster, a second on the motion made by Member Cruz to approve. And now we will go to approval with each member. Danielle, you want to take that?
Yep. All right. Member Chaparro?
Approve.
Member Cruz?
Approve.
Member Devine?
Approved.
Member Foster?
Approved.
Member Harper?
Approved.
Member Roberts?
Approved.
Co-Vice Chair Graves?
Approved.
Co-Vice Chair Moore?
Approve.
And Chair Barnett.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. And at this time, handing over the meeting to Co-Vice Chair Moore for the next two agenda items. Thank you.
Great. The next agenda item is CAB announcements. And this is a time when CAB members may share community news of interest to the CAB as a whole, or announce upcoming community events that might be of interest to the CAB, and is also a time when CAB members may announce departure from the meeting early or any other announcement that may affect the meeting. Does anyone have any announcement? Chair Barnett?
Good evening, everyone. As you know, it's September, which is Bike to Wherever Days, as we are in Bike to Wherever month, and tomorrow is officially Bike to Wherever Day for Sonoma County. If you are so inspired, you can get on your bike and go out and ride. And I should also note that there's going to be 2 stations actually open tomorrow morning, one in Cotati, one in Sebastopol. You can go on our website, bikesonoma.org. And lastly, we're going to have an event on the 26th, a virtual event that is going to be a bike parade, i.e. decorate your bike and go out and ride on Saturday to celebrate all things bike. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Barnett. Any other announcements by the CAB? Member Harper.
Yes, and if you want to bike over to South Park, we're having a census parade, and we'll be actually decorating cars, and you can follow with your bike. We're starting at 11 over by Kiwanis School, and we'll be parading through South Park neighborhood. So, and then we'll end the parade with a drive-through census event. So, no touch, health and safety conscious ending of the event. So, looking to just prep up for census. So, we're very excited about that. And then we have a partnership event at Roseland for Roseland residents. So at the Roseland Plaza over there, there'll be a movie. Again, we'll be giving away census information, but it's a real cool opportunity. This is the second movie in a series of 3, and the movie they're showing is A Book of Life, and it will be in Spanish and English through Wi-Fi to people's cars. So we're experimenting with that, see how that looks. It sounds fun. So that's tomorrow starting at 7 for cars. So it's drive-in style. So it's cars driving in. They will be parking. There'll be snacks. They'll get census information, and they need to pre-register. So, yes.
Is it tomorrow or Friday?
Oops, Friday the 25th. I'm so excited. every day is nice.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other announcements by any other members? Co-Vice Chair Graves.
I'll just thank you so much for that. I'll take this moment just to let the rest of the members know that there is an action happening in Courthouse Square this evening in light of the grand jury verdict in Kentucky this afternoon. So just to be aware that there is a action happening in Courthouse Square this evening, and I would be remiss also if I didn't say that as part of our public emergency services that we are anticipating very high temperatures this weekend, and with everything that has been going on throughout our nation and locally, and in addition with high temperatures and the threat of fires, just to be aware and to be safe, and that I hope that everybody can hold each other safely in our community. Thank you.
Great. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none. Any public comment on the CAB announcement?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, great. We'll go on to item number 5 then, which is the time reserved for city staff to provide a briefing on issues of interest. No action will be taken on these matters except to possibly place a particular item on a future agenda for consideration. Danielle?
Yep. All right. For staff updates this evening, first of all, Magali currently is at back to school night virtually, so she's watching the CAB meeting as she can while she participates in open house night, but she will be joining us as soon as that's over. What I have for you this evening is an update on the Community Empowerment Plan. To date, we have conducted 12 listening sessions. We've engaged 147 people. 97 of those people are from our BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. And we will continue holding follow-up sessions with those groups that are interested that we've met with already to keep the dialogue going, and also to work on some of the items that have come out of those sessions. In addition, we're scheduling an additional 7 to 9 more sessions, including 3 to 5 Spanish-speaking sessions. We've had some challenges getting these scheduled. We've had some scheduled, but unfortunately, due to the fires and the smoke hazards in the air and the need for some of these sessions to take place in person, we weren't able to do that during that time. So we're rescheduling those. We're also working with our Indigenous community to hold 2 Indigenous listening sessions, one with our Eritrean community and one with our Asian Pacific Islander community. In addition, one of the projects that we have begun to work on and implement is the Multicultural Roots project that Magali talked about last month. Currently, and these are again the stories from our BIPOC communities, highlighting historical events and individuals as well as current leaders in the community. And so currently our AmeriCorps Vistas are working on conducting research on the facts and the stories that we will be highlighting in October. They should have those to us by tomorrow, and then we'll move those through our advisory group that we put together to vet those stories and to approve the 5 that we will be moving through with. And our plan is to debut the first fact on October 8th through our various communication channels here at the city. And then at the October 14th City Council meeting, we're hoping to work with City Clerk staff to get some slides moving through during City Council recess times, showing the facts that we've developed for the month of October. So more to come on that. For the open government update, Good news, the Open Government Task Force Implementation Subcommittee will be meeting again starting September 30th. The first meeting is at 5:30 p.m. This will be a virtual meeting open to the public, just like the CAB meetings are. At this particular meeting, we'll be reviewing key ordinance sections of the draft Open Government Ordinance and finalizing the discussion around that. And hopefully, it looks like the next step is the draft ordinance will go to City Council for the first reading. The tentative date scheduled for that is October 27th, although that could be changed. We're not sure, but I know that Councilmember Rogers is really, really eager to get that going because we did a lot of work on that in 2018 and 2019. And so we're hoping to move that forward as soon as possible. And then I put election information here on staff updates. I just wanted to provide a little bit of information for some of our new board members, as well as a reminder to our board members who have been with us for a while about elections, since this is an election year, and what the CAB is allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do as a CAB member. And so real quickly, as a CAB member, you can provide information on ballot measures. So if, say, the city has a ballot measure on the ballot, you can provide neutral information about what the measure is. And the one thing that you cannot do, however, is you cannot tell people how to vote or advocate for that measure. You can also work on an election campaign or a ballot measure campaign as a regular citizen, but you cannot do this as a CAB member. We've had a couple of CAB members in the past work on various campaigns, and we've asked that they not wear their CAB name badge or be there representing the CAB. You can also donate personal money to any campaign. However, you cannot use CAB funds. And since you don't have access to those funds, we wouldn't allow you to do that anyway. You can send campaign and ballot specific emails from your personal email account. However, you cannot send it as a CAB member or on behalf of the CAB. And you cannot use any agency resources. So you shouldn't be asking to use our computers, city telephones, office supplies, printing, anything like that for any campaigns or ballot measures. If you have additional questions around election information, please send those questions to me. If I can answer them, I will. However, I might not be able to, and I'll have to forward them to our city attorney's office for clarification. And that is my update for this evening.
Great. Thank you, Danielle. Any questions for Danielle? Member Cruz?
I have a couple questions that came from the community about the community empowerment plan. When I went to the page, I couldn't explain it very well to them because I didn't really know when the meetings happen or where to find out information about the meetings, whether they're recorded, if they're minutes, who's invited, who decides, all those transparency type questions. So those are kind of, one is like, where do you get the details of the meetings? I mean, is anyone taking minutes? Are they published? Are they posted anywhere? You mentioned outcomes and issues that were identified, and is there a list of those posted anywhere where people can see what you guys, what the city's working on? And who decides who comes to the meetings or who you're meeting with? And are they secret or are they public?
Thank you for those questions. No, they are not secret. However, we are working to protect community groups that do not want to have these meetings public. So there are quite a few groups that actually do not wish to have these open to members outside of their groups. And so we've used the approach of going to various community groups to hold these listening sessions. You can go to the Community Empowerment Plan website, which lists all of the meeting summaries. So there's no official minutes because these aren't official public meetings. So there's meeting summaries that include outcomes from every single session that we have. They're also translated in Spanish, so you can read them in Spanish if you need to. As far as outcome goes, I can share the most kind of the biggest outcomes that we've had. But again, you'd have to go through each summary to read what the primary outcomes from each session are. The most, I guess, visible are the Chief's Community Ambassador Team, which is an advisory board that the Chief of Police is putting together. They have finished a draft of an application selection process, and I'm helping to review that right now before we release it to the public. I don't have an exact timeline, but it sounds like he is ready to go like yesterday on this. And so we'll be looking to release that fairly soon, and I will send a copy of it to the board to help so that you can help with outreach on that. Another one is the SRPD Lowrider Patrol Car. So SRPD is partnering with the Sonoma County Lowrider Council to create a promotional lowrider patrol car, which the city of Stockton and the city of Los Angeles, actually, they both have those. And so the police department has identified an early 90s patrol car that they still have in fleet. They're working to get that out of fleet over to the Lowrider Council, and then the Lowrider Council will actually take that and redo the car in lowrider style. It will still include the most up-to-date Santa Rosa Police Department logo and motto on the car, but everything else will be in lowrider style. And that's actually moving forward a lot faster than we thought it would. I believe the car is actually being transferred over to the council right now as we speak. Another one is the Multicultural Roots Project that I spoke about in the updates as well as last month. The goal of that is to create visibility for our BIPOC communities, as well as highlight the contributions from our BIPOC communities that really have helped to impact and shape Santa Rosa into what it is today. Another one is ethnic studies with our recreation programs. So we have our distance learning hubs, or what recreation is now calling our School of Rec. So they're small distance learning hubs where students can go to, it provides an opportunity for childcare for parents who need it. But they can work with recreation staff on their distance learning, their homework, anything they might need help with around school. So what we're working on is the ethnic studies portion of that. And so it's a collaboration between community engagement. We're hoping SRPD will join us eventually, and our recreation program, where we create curriculum or use curriculum that already exists around different ethnic studies components. So I can tell you right now that we'll be doing one lesson around the Miwok tribe from here in Sonoma County in Northern California. There will be a session specifically on the Aztec Empire or Aztlan Empire. And then there will be a session on Francisco Vasquez, who recently passed away, I believe much earlier this year, and information about him and what he did to contribute to the Sonoma County Latino community. And finally, there will be a session on the Black Panther Party and the work that they did in their communities, including the free meal program for schools. So those are the main outcomes or the main projects that have come out of these listening sessions. We are partnering with our community groups on these, so our community groups will be helping us vet the stories that are going into the Multicultural Roots Project, the ethnic studies curriculum. We have a couple of instructors and former instructors from local educational institutions that are helping us out with that. And again, the Lowrider City Council, or sorry, not City Council, Lowrider Council is helping out with the car. So we have a lot going on. There's also, like I said, follow-up meetings that are happening so we can keep that dialogue going. And
so who decides who meets with who, or do you just say, hey, I want to meet with the mayor. Our group wants to meet with the mayor. How do you, I mean, those aren't the only people of color in Sonoma County.
That's
or
correct.
City of Santa Rosa.
Right, that's correct. So I mentioned this in July during the presentation. And so what we did is we did a review of all of the community groups that we had, which were community groups of color. We approached them, asked them if they wanted to participate. I also conducted one-on-one interviews with quite a few people that I haven't talked with yet in the community, and asked them if they were involved in any community groups that we might not know of. I also asked those community groups that we are pretty active with if there are other community groups that we should know about that we might not know of. Contacted SSU and SRJC to meet with their Black Student Union and their MECHA groups. And then also trying to think, just tapping into our community leaders who are out there as well. We have been told no quite a few times. There's some groups that just don't want to have this conversation anymore, and that's okay. There's some groups that are afraid to come forward. They don't want, like we've tried to actually approach a couple of businesses in some of our communities of color. They don't want to meet with us. They're afraid of the repercussions that might have on their businesses. We get that. We can't force people to participate. We have an open door. We are happy to engage with anyone who wants to come to the table. However, I do want to remind everyone, I am a staff of one person.
So that's the question. It's who? It's you then. I mean, when I say who decides, it's Danielle. I mean, okay, got you.
Yeah. I have Magali now. Magali is doing a lot more work with our Latino community, particularly our Spanish-speaking community and our Indigenous communities, which is really helping me out a lot. But Magali also has the partnership too to focus on. So we both have our different, our different projects that we have to work on. So it's a balance for us. We are also, it's open for the cab. If you guys want to help us out with this too, I put it out there. That'd be fantastic. I know you and I, Veronica, have talked about this before. Absolutely. Yes, I'm open.
I just didn't know who to refer people to if they had a group and okay, got you. All right, I'm good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions from any other members? Co-Vice Chair Graves.
Yeah, I really appreciate getting all of that information. And while you were doing that, I did take a quick look at the Community Empowerment Plan page online for the city, Danielle. And I think maybe just a suggestion right now, there's no one line on there that says who to contact if I were in a group or know of a group that might want to have a listening session. And then it's also, there's no clear timeline, and maybe that's on purpose by design. And so it would be, my question is, are these listening sessions, which I find really powerful, are they going to continue? Because I can see where you were saying maybe a business or a community group is not comfortable in doing this now, but maybe 3 months from now or 6 months from now, as our society evolves, hopefully, and as the information comes out about the success of these listening sessions, that they would want to do it. So how is that going to proceed? Is there an end to these listening sessions, or is it very open-ended in its scope? Thank you.
Yep. One of the goals in the Community Empowerment Plan is to come up with a community engagement strategy moving forward, so past this. And we've already talked about continuing these listening sessions. So they will be open. We probably won't meet as frequently with the groups that we've already met with. It'll probably move to like every other month or every couple of months, so that we can fit in those groups that want to meet with us, that are new, just coming to the table. And thank you for the suggestion. I will definitely put that contact information there on the page so that they can get a hold of us.
Member Harper.
Count me in if you need help.
Yeah. We actually have Rosa CBI and South Park CBI lined up. So those are two of our Spanish-speaking groups that we'll be meeting with. We're just trying to find a date. It's really, we're having a challenge hammering those dates down. So, yeah.
But if you want additional help. And then my question, who did you say passed away this year?
I think it's Francisco Vasquez.
Really?
Francisco? No, is it Francisco?
Was it Ortiz?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, you scared me for a minute there because Vasquez was on our board at one time, and I'm like, how did I not know?
Sorry, that's horrible. George Ortiz. Thank you.
He's alive.
Francisco is actually one we're highlighting in the multicultural roots project. No, we're doing George Ortiz for the for the ethnic studies. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Danielle? All right, we will go to public comment on the staff update.
There are currently no hands raised for public comment.
All right, then we can move to the next agenda item, and I will turn the meeting over to Chair Barnett.
Thank you, Co-Vice Chair Moore. Can everyone hear me? All right. Okay, so we are on item number 6. Well, I should say we're revisiting item number 6.1. So last month we had an abrupt ending to our meeting with a fire alarm going off in council chambers. So we're picking this back up, and this is the CAB's 5-year strategic roadmap plan and update. So I'm going to hand it over to Danielle to finish out her presentation, and then we're going to go into public comment.
Give me one moment here. Let me pull this up. So I just wanted to remind the CAB where we were. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation, and for members of the public that are on tonight that didn't see the presentation, there is a recording of the meeting, which is on the CAB website, which is srcity.org/CAB. But the recommendations I will go through again. So based on what we discussed, or what the presentation was, sorry, not the discussion. So for the empowerment subcommittee, again, NeighborFest is suspended for this year. We were just talking about what that might look like next year. I have no idea. I'm really hoping that we don't have to suspend it again, but we'll see. Community Engagement Academy had, the planning had stalled around that. But I think that there's a way that the empowerment subcommittee can help us out by assisting with developing a series of Civic 101 videos. Attending neighborhood meetings virtually and finding out, what the needs are in the neighborhoods around COVID-19, police reform, community empowerment plan, and homelessness and housing. And for expertise, the recommendations were around helping staff put together a Civic 101 toolkit so it would accompany the videos via a written format that we could provide to people via website, and if hard copies are needed, we could work on providing those. And then getting back to some of the work that this group was doing before the pandemic hit and we stopped meeting, developing that onboarding survey and the exit survey for the board, as well as assisting us in the communication strategy. So Co-Vice Chair Graves brought up an idea of possibly doing a meeting summary for social media. So just a short summary around what we discussed and what decisions were made that we can post to the community engagement Facebook page and to the website. And then possibly helping out creating some articles for our City Connections newsletter. And so as a reminder, we did go through a discussion last month. I answered questions. If you have any other lingering questions, that's fine, but I really wanted to turn this item over for public comment, because I know that we did have some public comment. We had one person that wanted to make public comment, but this is now an opportunity if anybody else has some too. So I will turn it back over to you, Vice Chair Moore.
Actually, it's the Chair Barnett. Punt it.
Sorry, Chair Barnett.
Okay.
Okay, any additional discussion with the board? And let me switch over to gallery view. So if anyone raises their hand, I can see you. All right, seeing no one raising their hand, I'm going to turn this over to Council Chambers for public comment.
There are no hands raised for public comment.
Okay, and so this item actually, well, the action item segues to our next item. So there was no action or vote coming out of this. It was the segue to 6.2. So I think we're just going to segue right into it then, so there's no public comment. So 6.2 is the Neighborhood Engagement Plan of Action.
Okay. So actually, Member O'Connor brought this up. So I put it on the agenda. She wanted the CAB to discuss really how they would like to move forward with engaging neighborhood groups. So including who's going to attend neighborhood meetings, how to record those meeting topics and report them back to the CAB, how to report those back to council. I know that the empowerment subcommittee had talked about maybe creating a form. So I would like to actually turn it over to the CAB to have this discussion.
Okay, so let's do some follow-up to this. So does anyone have well, I guess my first piece here is, has anybody heard within the neighborhood associations of, are they hosting Zoom meetings? Have we, are we hearing about things coming up from the neighborhoods? I mean, I'm seeing things coming up on Nextdoor, but it's not what I would say is a neighborhood meeting or a neighborhood association meeting. So, and I haven't seen anything from the, like, for example, like JCNA, I have not heard anything about any kind of Zoom meeting or anything like that. So, but Member Cruz.
My neighborhood is not meeting. They are going through a lot of reorganization and probably some apathy or meeting fatigue or crisis fatigue. So it's not happening right now.
Anyone else? Member Harper, and then Vice Chair Graves.
The Rosa and CBI group is doing Zoom meetings, and I believe the South Park, I'm not sure if they're doing Zoom or they may be doing in-person meetings with separated and social distancing, but and they're doing a cleanup event in, I think, in October, so they're doing activities.
And then Member Graves.
Yeah, my immediate neighborhood, which is the St. Rose area, does not have a formal group, although we are active. So there is a moment where they might spontaneously make this happen. But then the outlying areas, like the West End, I know that there have been meetings between the lead organizers of that. So it's about, I would say, for me, like just keeping in touch and finding, periodically and knowing that. And so I'm not in Coffee Strong area. Obviously, I'm in somewhat downtown area, but with more of the information coming out about the PG&E funds and decisions around that, I was talking to members of the Coffee Strong area as well as the Fountain Grove area, and they seem somewhat active in forming some opinions and getting together together in that way. So it would be beneficial to reach out again. So I think it might be a monthly type of a check-in for all of us in those different areas that we have neighborhoods that have been active in the past.
Anything else from the members on the board?
On this topic or who's
Yeah,
meeting?
right. On this topic of how we want to do this. So you had Member Foster.
Yes, maybe Danielle, you can help me with a list of some of the organizations in the downtown area besides DAO and the Cherry Street Historical District. And I'd be happy to reach out to those groups, and I'm involved with the DAO, but go beyond that and talk with some of those folks. That'd be helpful.
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. And any other CAB member that would like to see what neighborhood groups exist in their CAB areas, or if you're an at-large member, any community-wide organizations, just let me know. We do have that CAB, the community and neighborhood groups list. So I'm happy to send that out again if you guys would like to see that again. I think it's been updated a few times. So I can go ahead and send that out.
Okay. I think that we kind of taken this part of it as far as we can take it, because part of it is finding out even if we have neighborhood associations that are formally meeting. So what I would recommend is that we take this to public comment, and then we might consider this as a future action plan coming out of the subcommittees. So at this point, I'd like to move to public comment.
Currently no hands raised for public comment.
Okay. Then I'd like to go to item 6. Well, hold on. Yeah, 6. Forgive me, folks. It's been a long day here. 6.3. So this is the Committee Advisory Board Subcommittee meetings. We should just quantify this as the meetings plan that we want to kind of go forward with. And I'm going to hand it over to Danielle.
Yeah, really what I wanted to check in with everybody about is originally each subcommittee picked their meeting dates pre-COVID when we were meeting in person. And so expertise, you have the first Wednesday of every month at 5:30. Empowerment, you have the second Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. I need to know, would you still like to move forward with those meeting times? Does that still work for your groups? Does the time still work for your groups? And then I believe everyone has a subcommittee except for Member Foster, which we need to meet about. So let's talk offline about meeting, setting up a time to chat so we can get you a subcommittee. So do those dates and times work for you? And if they do, I will get to working on putting those on the legislative calendar and getting the Zoom meeting information taken care of.
Member Cruz.
Meeting date still works for me, and I would like to, if we set a meeting, getting things rolling again, like one of the first things would be to meet Magali and see what her expectations are for us, or if she has any ideas of what she would want us to help her out with.
Okay.
Member Moore.
The meeting time for the expertise subcommittee still is a good time for me.
Empowerment, anyone from there?
Member Harper.
Empowerment time and day works for me as well.
Cool. Danny or Danielle, is that still good for you?
Yes. So works for me.
Member Chaparro, are you there? Are you frozen?
Yeah, sorry, it's just, I was like, Danielle, I don't know who you asking. Yeah. I was, yeah.
Okay.
I was here though, I heard everything.
Okay, great. You're good, Member Roberts? Is no.
Was the schedule in the agenda? I was trying to pull it up, or did?
No. So empowerment. Are you empowerment? You're empowerment, right? Yeah, that's the second Wednesday of every month at 6. So the next one would be October 13th. 13th? No, 14th.
Okay. Yeah, that should work for me.
Okay.
So does that give you enough to work with, Danielle? It sounds like everything can go forward. Now, the plan is for us to go live with the subcommittee meetings on the regular schedule starting October.
Yeah.
So, yes? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay. All right. That's
Zoom meetings. And empowerment, would you like Magali to come as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for sure with because of the fact of this is the continuation of the strategic plan, 100%. So that's the one, because she's not, she's at back to school night. So that would be the one thing I would want to make sure is that it would work with her schedule. Because I would say at a minimum, October, November, December, if we meet in December, but I would for sure October, November, because those are going to be kind of the heavy meetings for us of really deciding on what we're capable of, what bandwidth we have more capable of. I should also mention under this that the city, I completely forgot on the report out. So the mayor's boards and chairs commissions meeting was last week. And there is some definite direction from the city in terms of things that they would like to see other boards and commissions doing. A big one is the settlement fund from PG&E, the $95 million settlement from PG&E. And they have there's a survey on the city's website, but there is an active campaign from the city if they want to get community feedback on what the community wants to do with this pool of money. It doesn't have restrictions. And so there's real opportunity here. And during the budget hearings, several groups came forward, but the city really wants a larger, broader conversation about this from as many groups as possible. So I wanted to bring that back to the CAB since this does tie in with our committee work as far as a goal that we might be looking at as we're also identifying neighborhood groups of getting this piece out to them that there is a very large sum of money that is a one-time from this PG&E settlement, but it is unrestricted funds, and the city is wanting people to fill out the survey and give direct feedback and all of that commentary, and that, it's a larger conversation that's going to be continuing, but it's something that, in particular, this board, I think, has a keen set of skill sets for getting the word out to neighborhood groups and to organizations and through social media. And it's on the city's website, but it was also something that, the mayor made a direct ask of every board and commission chair to let their boards know about this. And they would like, the main two things of make sure everyone is signed up for the city connections and make sure everybody is getting the word out on the survey and taking the survey and giving the city feedback. So those well, relevant to this topic, so I wanted to bring it forward. Is there any other discussion on this item? Yes, Co-Chair Graves. You're still mute.
About that, just noticed. In relation to that input and greater input from the community, there is a session tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on Zoom. So there's a meeting to that. I'm trying to get to that information. It's a community input meeting for Santa Rosa fire survivors of Coffee Park neighborhood area and the fire impacted mobile home communities online. So it did target those two specific areas, but that information is available on the City of Santa Rosa's Facebook page, and it does have an event page as well. And then I was just going to mention, just for clarity, that I think all three of us as chair and co-vice chairs are right now on the expertise committee. And so I'm willing, I can remember that co-vice chair Moore had asked to remain on that. So I'm willing to switch over to the empowerment committee, and that works. I'll make it work. Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? Member Cruz.
So the survey, just so people know, it doesn't, if you put in City of Santa Rosa PG&E survey, it doesn't really take you directly there, but it says it's the 2017 fire settlement, and then it takes you right to a page where you can take the survey. So, but you have to, if you put that in, you're going to go probably right to the page. But I just put in PG&E settlement, City of Santa Rosa, and I was able to find it, but not intuitive.
That is useful feedback. Although I'm thinking that it's also in the City Connections, the most recent newsletter that came out. But that is helpful feedback of that. Yes, if there is a way to make it easily searchable, anything we can do behind the scenes. Is there any other discussion items from the members of the board? Seeing none, I'd like to go to public comment on this item.
There are no hands raised for public comment.
Excellent. I would then like to turn over meeting facilitation to co-chair. I'm like, who's next up here? Leslie, co-chair Graves.
And Co-Chair Graves, if I may take this moment to do a interpretation transition, if you could announce a brief pause for this meeting.
Yes, so we will be making a brief pause. I believe that only takes a few minutes, but why don't we go ahead and just be at the top of the hour. Everybody come back. Members are able to step away for a moment, and we will resume at 7 p.m. so that we get a tiny break. Is that okay? I believe it is, because everybody is logging off, or at least turning off their camera. So we will be back at 7 p.m. Thank you.
everyone. We have done a transition for interpretation. You may resume the meeting.
Thank you. I'll give a couple more members time to bring back their video. I believe we have a quorum. Is that true, Danielle, at this point? Looks like we do. No.
No, we need Member Roberts to turn his camera on,
Or co-vice chair.
or co-vice chair Moore. Yeah, thank you. I was like, who are we missing?
Great, thank you. All right, we're coming back from that. I apologize, probably a little bit longer than we needed of a break, but it looked like everybody enjoyed that. We will move on to agenda item 6.4, although oh yes, I do see you. This is the time that we have set aside to meet our CAB members and or city staff. And this month in our agenda is a holdover from last month because we were interrupted last month by that fire alarm. And so this month we are meeting our new community engagement division director. I so want to say that with my announcer voice. It's so exciting. Thanks for being here. We're so excited to have you here with us. This is Magali Tellis and Teas, and she will be sharing information about herself, including her education, her work experience, which is tremendous, and her many skills that she brings to us here. And we are so privileged and respectful to have you here with us. And then just a heads up that we will also be selecting either a CAB or a staff member during this meeting to highlight for our next meeting. So, Magali, thank you for being here, and welcome after your parent night, I believe you were at. That's right. Yeah. Thank you for juggling everything, and take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for the opportunity to just kind of give you a little more insight on who I am and some of my background and why I'm so excited to be doing this work. So just, a brief rundown of my education. I came to Sonoma County in the year 2000 because Sonoma State sent me a really beautiful brochure down there to Fresno, California. And so, I grew up in Fresno, which I'm very blessed to have had the opportunity to grow through that experience. I'll just say that. Triple digits weather is really something else. So, anywho's, I received my bachelor's degree in sociology. And during the time that I was at Sonoma State, I think it's important to know for young people, I helped start with 7 other wonderful women, the first Latina sorority at Sonoma State. And during that time, I got involved in recruitment. So at that time, Sonoma State was not the most diverse campus of the CSUs. We were collectively all ethnic students together comprised 10% of the campus. So all ethnic young people were 10% of the campus. And during my recruitment efforts, I was very fortunate that the outreach office would allow me to do some very intentional Latino programming. And that's where we kind of got involved with the Latino Family Summit, which is hopefully going to be taking place this spring again at SSU, which brings families to the campus to sort of break down some of these myths and stereotypes about, there are folks in our community who don't know that it's an open campus. You don't have to get invited. It's a space that's a public space for everyone. Talking to parents and young people about, college and all the possibilities that are available there. And then after, graduating with my degree, I started working at Sonoma State. So that's why I joke that I was there almost 2 decades, because I count my time as a student in the outreach office, doing recruitment, doing some retention, doing admissions, continuing with some of the intentional programs. We worked with, East Bay students. We worked with the group tours program. So I talk about this a lot because I want the community to know that I have a lot of experience working with youth and working with youth in the entire sort of spectrum. We hosted young people from Hannah Boys Center. We would host people from, everywhere in California, sometimes out of state. And so, I'm very passionate about working with young folks. And so in 2017, it feels like yesterday, I left to start as the very first executive director for Los Cien Sonoma County. I had the privilege to work with the largest Latino leadership organization in Sonoma County and work on, building bridges between communities, bringing folks together, having difficult conversations that sometimes, most of the time had to do with, equity and racial justice, social justice. So I feel very fortunate to have been able to be part of that group and to be their very first, staff member and continue to support the work that they do. So I'm a lot better with questions. So I don't know if you all have any questions, but as you can probably tell from some of the conversations I've been having with people, I'm very much listening to public comment. Our incredible Vistas, as well as Danielle, are doing some really wonderful work. There were a couple of public comment sessions that we actually transcribed. So we are going to not just be listening and, for public comment, but we're also going to be, putting that together in a report for our community empowerment plan. And we're very excited to be able to bring it back to folks and say, is this kind of what you all were mentioning, and then, carry forward, staff recommendations on how do we move forward with community input and community needs and asks. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but did you all have any questions for me? No? Okay.
I'll take that. That's Member Cruz, I can see.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm a little dark here. So I just wanted, do you live in City of Santa Rosa or do you live in other place in Sonoma County?
That's a great question. I actually lived in Santa Rosa for most of my time here, but now I actually live in Windsor. So yeah, but I'm here, 14 hours out of the 24, so I feel like I live here.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oops. Okay. I don't see any hands up at this time. Not a question, just a comment. I know that your energy is tremendous. It is very positive. It is very engaging, and I'm so excited to hear you coming on board with the city and bringing your wealth of experience and your connections and your networking within the community. And I feel like we won here in Santa Rosa. So thank you so much for coming on board, especially during these times when I think that it's really needed that we have a heightened sense of community and all of community, and not just maybe the tried and true one aspect of community, but really reaching out to all voices and all people and feeling that connection as we move into district elections, as we there's a sense that divide is here, and it could be more so in the days to come. And I really feel like you're one of the change makers in our community that can help us bring people together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I super appreciate that. And I just want to say that I feel that responsibility to this community very deeply, just so you know.
And I see Danielle's hand is up as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Magali, in the staff updates, I actually provided some of the information about the projects that we're working on that have come out of the listening sessions, and talked a little bit about the ethnic studies with our recreation division. But can you maybe just provide just a little bit of context behind that, where you came up with that idea and why it's important to you? Because I've heard you talk about this with community members, and I think it's important for our CAB members to know why this is important for you as well.
Sure. So we have been working on this idea of really ethnic studies with the COP. There's been that coffee with the COP, and sort of these different iterations of these opportunities to have dialogue. And I think now more than ever, it's really important to create more dialogue, more conversation, more listening to where people are coming from. And growing up in Fresno, I had a very different experience than what some of the youth will experience here. I've been very public about my own journey with law enforcement, having grown up in a high school where we had probation officers, police officers, drug dogs, security guards. We were at full lockdown. Most all the time, you couldn't get on or off the campus without showing your ID. But again, we had a very different community and time that we lived in. So for me, it's really important for folks who do not live in a community to really understand and have opportunities to create dialogue and create community. Because I think that, we've all heard sometimes people of color are hesitant or are undocumented community. They're hesitant to contact police. And sometimes, when our workforce isn't necessarily representative of the entire community that we have, there's a little bit of a disconnect. So long story short, I thought, how great would it be if young people, especially people of color, feel some sort of visibility. And I always share with people, I didn't learn about my own history. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Mexico, okay? I didn't learn about my own culture through schooling until I was in college, and I chose to take courses on Chicano Latino studies. And so because of that, I think I missed this opportunity to feel visible in community and in positions of leadership. So I thought it would be a really great sort of opportunity to have our department, through our violence prevention partnership, our staff, Gustavo Mendoza, to work with our police officers here in Santa Rosa and create curriculum that highlights, our Latino population, our Black population, our Indigenous population, Asian Pacific Islander population, in a way that's celebratory and is an opportunity for folks who don't belong to that community to learn something, and then for young people to feel visible, and given some light. So that's kind of where that stemmed from. They are very young youth. They're from 3rd to 6th grade. But we are holding this as a pilot program. We will then be doing a survey to make sure that this was a positive experience all around. And then how can we expand this? How can we take this to, more than one cohort? So that's just a little bit of where that came from.
Thank you. I was scribbling some notes at the same time that you're talking. There's so much rich information there that I wanted to be able to speak to it later. So thank you so much for all of that information. It didn't look like there were any other questions at this time. Nope, I'm sorry. It's Chair Barnett right there. Take it away.
Well, much like Co-Chair Graves, I was just extremely grateful that we got you. I snagged you from Lucien. But I was on the interview panel, and you were one of our finalists. And afterwards, we did a panelist survey, and I said to David, you know, because it was pretty abundantly clear that the interview panel, we were in a very clear direction. And I said, my recommendation to you, David, and I had no idea he was going to leave to go work for Grayton, was I highly recommend you hire Magali and then do us all a favor. And when Magali gets onboarded, get out of the way and let him and Danielle, like, truly, like, just get out of the way. Let Magali and Danielle work together and do what they do and get out of their way and stand back and off. And I can say with absolute, I'm like, good job, dude. I didn't think he would physically leave and go work great. And I had no idea, but that was my commentary to him as a panelist. I knew just from the interview, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Because a big part for me as a chair was I needed somebody who could come in, hit the ground running, and have a good partnership with the existing staff. And I kind of felt like, yeah, Danielle's going to be able to work with this person, and they're actually going to be really effective together. And hallelujah. So that was something I was very excited about. So I'm very, very, very grateful, just like all the other accolades here, to have you on board. So very much welcome.
Thank you so much. If I could just say one last thing, I'm super grateful to Danielle because she just embraced me the minute I walked in the door. Not physically because it's COVID, but also the city council has been so phenomenal and so just, I can't say enough good things about how supportive they've been. I mean, the council, one of the council goals is, equity and inclusion. So they are just like, go for it. And I'm super grateful for them and the support that they've been giving us as a huge department of 2 people. So.
Great, thank you, Chair Barnett and Magali. At this time, it looks like would open it up to public comments.
There are no hands raised for public comment.
All right, thank you for that. And now handing it the rest of the agenda over to
CAB needs to select the next person to present, please.
Thank you. I had forgotten about that, even mentioning it earlier. So we are now charged with selecting either a CAB member or a staff member to highlight in our next meeting in October. Does anybody have from our members any of our members have a suggestion? You are going to leave it up for drawing straws or playing musical chairs on Zoom. Which one will be more fun? Danielle, do you have a suggestion? When we got to this point, I had not thought this through.
Well, a raise of hands, who has gone already? Oh my goodness. So Member Cruz and Member Harper have been here the longest out of the ones who have not gone yet. So those are 2 that I could suggest.
I vote for Member Cruz. Can I do that?
I was going to nominate you, Vince.
I did it first.
Before you 2 start battling it out, I would be willing to go. I have been your staff liaison on this board for almost 5 years now, and I've never done a presentation. Mm-hmm. So if you'd like to get to know me, I'm happy to do that. We could also put myself and either Member Harper or Member Cruz on there too and do 2 presentations.
I vote for Danielle.
I didn't hear you, Vince.
I said I vote for Danielle.
I second that motion.
Boom, got it. All those in favor?
And Vice Chair, formerly Vice Chair Member Harper is falling right in line with taking that over and making that happen.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
No, you're good. You're so good. So that did sound like a motion and a second, and I already saw hands go up. It's not, that couldn't happen any faster. Do we need to take a vote on that, Danielle, or no? That is not a formal vote. And Danielle, thank you for volunteering. Your plate always is getting bigger, so I appreciate that you made that plate more full as well for our next meeting in October. And you'll tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks, Vince.
You volunteer.
We will be moving forward with the remaining agenda items, and I will be handing it over to Co-Vice Chair Moore.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, future agenda items. We have some listed below, but also I'd like to ask Magali to speak to this, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to do sort of a brief friendly reminder for if there are folks that weren't able to join us last time regarding the Sonoma County Commission on Human Rights report. The council has asked if they could take a look at it, requested if they could look at it first. They'd like to review it. I don't currently have a date quite yet for you. I'm hoping to have one soon. We have been really pushing a lot of these goals that the city has set forward, and we're trying to, get as many in before the end of the year so that folks understand where we are with the larger goals. But as soon as I get a date for this, I'm more than happy to share that. Thank you.
Okay, Member Cruz.
That was kind of what I was wanting to talk about today, because I saw it on the agenda, is that I'm hearing rumblings about it, and people are they don't want it to disappear. They want it to stay in focus, and that it stay a priority for our CAB as well as the city of Santa Rosa City Council, because as time goes on, these things just get aged out and something else becomes more important or more put on the front burner. I think this report is too important to put off and to get forgotten.
Are there any other suggested agenda items for a future meeting? Okay. Chair Barnett.
Member Devine, you had emailed me a couple days ago about some agenda items. Do you want that brought up here?
Yeah, I'll be bringing up Park and Michael Bauer from GBAT TV, who had both wanted to come in and speak to the CAB.
And just a quick question, is that South Park CBI, or is this a different neighborhood group?
Some of the neighborhood leaders, like that I was speaking to, this was 6 months to 8 months ago, but I have their names. Okay. I can forward them to you, or do you like them now?
Oh no, you can forward them to me. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chair Barnett, is that what you were going to highlight, or did you want to add something else?
Actually, I had a request for staff, and that was with the City of San Francisco Neighborhood Empowerment Network. I wanted to find out if we could do any kind of because NeighborFest is not happening, I would rather not reinvent the wheel, but I was wondering if we could if I could put a request in for city staff to see if Daniel Hornsby or anyone from that organization, if they have recommendations or suggestions in the era of COVID of what we as a board can do in lieu of NeighborFest. Because yes, the subcommittees are going to resume in October, but I feel like rather than us reinventing the wheel on virtual community engagement and how we can take NeighborFest into a different format and just in a planning and logistics thing, I'd like to go back to the organization that we framed our entire program around and find out from them, are they doing anything else? Are they coming up with virtual solutions? And also this goes back to the neighborhood, the larger neighborhood question about, we don't even know if, I don't even know if neighborhood associations, I haven't gotten anything from SRJC or Cobblestone. So I haven't heard anything about virtual meetings. That doesn't mean that they're not happening. And so I think that's another question for us to find out is how are other organizations that, how are they finding out if neighborhoods are meeting and the effectiveness of it? And, kind of get that larger question for me of, is there a way that we can take NeighborFest forward with a contingency of, there's some virtual opportunities that we're not thinking of, or that we can think, because there's only so many things you can do in a COVID-19 paradigm. But I think it's something worth bringing to a future agenda if there is something that they've come forward with, or a program or an idea that we might want to explore as a board.
Okay. Any other members have any agenda items that they'd like to see in the future at this time? All right. Then is there any public comment on this agenda item?
There are currently no hands raised for live public comment. However, we do have a voicemail public comment for this item. One moment while I get the screen set up for that.
Are we still, I can't hear anything. Are you still working out some technical issues?
Were you unable to hear that audio?
Not at all, or
No one was able to hear that audio. Give me one moment, please. Thank you, everyone. Let me go ahead and replay that audio for you to hear.
Hi, I'm Ari. I'm calling about item 7A on the Community Advisory Board meeting for the 23rd. And I would like to encourage the board to prioritize reading and responding to the Human Rights Report. How are you an entity concerned with community welfare and you haven't acknowledged the report for months? It can't be put off any longer. The demands from protesters who were mistreated by their city deserve to be heard now and honored. I need you all to read and absorb the human rights abuses that took place and use your position of power to fight for justice, as well as help publicize this information. Given the way the Press Democrat has continued to show heavy police bias in their reports, and of course SRPD won't admit any wrongdoing, a lot of people in this community who haven't been involved with protests don't realize the cruelty of the police and how they failed to protect protesters. I've lost count of how many cars have driven through groups and gotten away with it. This has to change. Do your part in helping to balance out the narrative and fight for crucial change within the police. Perhaps defunding them so they don't have access to military-grade weapons that they use on their own community. Read the reports. It's in there. Thanks.
And that ends voicemail public comments on item 7.
Okay. And no other public comments?
We have one hand raised.
Thank you. Yes, we did just receive one hand raised for live public comment. One moment, please.
Hello?
Hi, the first public comment will be from Roman. Roman, I have unmuted your microphone. Do you see the timer on your screen?
I do.
Okay, your timer begins now. Please identify yourself for the record if you so choose.
Hi, everyone. Roman here. I just wanted to address what Magali had brought up about the Human Rights Report. I was reading off the upcoming meeting list for Santa Rosa City Council. It was scheduled for December 15th, but she had mentioned it's kind of like floating, tentative. So I was just wondering if there's any clarity around that. Leslie, Danielle, you're amazing. Vince, thank you for everything you do around the census and census awareness. Thank you to every CAB member. And Leslie, thank you for a beautiful event around RBG. Hopefully I can get some clarity, and thank you all. I yield my time.
Thank you, Ramon. That ends public comment at this time.
Okay. If there are no further public comments, we will move to agenda item number 8, to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Member Roberts, is there a second motion? A second motion to adjourn.
I saw Member Devine.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Member Devine, sorry. Great. So with the second motion, we will be adjourned.
Ooh, at 7:34 p.m. Good job, guys.